tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan AGAJANIan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled is actress Julie Newmar and artist Ed Moses. Julie Newmar was born in Hollywood and became a star in Hollywood when she portrayed Catwoman in the 60s Batman television series. But long before that, she was an accomplished dancer, and she played a robot in the Living Doll television series. And in the never-ending line of auditions, Julie, how did you end up as Catwoman?
They couldn't think of anybody else.
No, that's not true. Were you doing Marriage Go Round then on Broadway?
No, Marriage Go Round when I was 24. Bleached my hair blonde. They couldn't get Anita Ekberg, that was the truth.
Well, she wasn't as tall as you.
Almost. You know, I used to be her dance teacher.
Were you dancing on Broadway, or were you dancing in New York?
I was sort of this stand-in choreographer at Universal Studios when I was 19. And I used to teach classes for the actors and people who were under contract there. And she came in one day. This woman is so ravishing that, I mean, you know, the freeway stops when she appears. She came in and she didn't move exactly like a dancer. So I was teaching her how to walk, and I held her hand and we walked across the room and to the music, you know, just to try to give her a kind of a sense of rhythm. Well, she walked with me, and then there was an open door there. She kept on walking right out the door, got in a little red Ferrari, and I never saw her again.
Does that have anything to do with your teaching ability?
No, believe me, she did not need me.
But you were in this Tony Award-winning Marriage Go Round.
Mm-hmm.
So when did that fit into your career?
That was the beginning of acting for me, because I'd always, like you, loved to dance.
But how did you know that, my dear?
About you?
Yeah.
We take class together at Stanley Holden's.
Tanya Lachine.
Yes, Baryshnikov.
Right. So tell us about Marriage Go Round, because I think that was like a really big thing to be in a Tony Award-winning play.
Well, I happened by luck to be with two of the greatest stars in the world, Charles Boyer and Claudette Colbert.
That was pretty great, wasn't it?
Let me tell you what it was like backstage, that people that came, I mean, presidents came to backstage, and it was just simply something extraordinary experience in my life.
That was great. Also, you did Little Abner.
Yes, yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, I played Stupefying Jones. It lasted about 45 minutes, my part, but somehow or other people remembered the costume or the lack of it.
Right. And that was on Broadway.
Yes.
And then also on Broadway, Silk Stockings.
Silk Stockings?
Isn't that right?
Yes, that's right.
Long-legged.
Oh. What was that? A Cole Porter. Cole Porter show. Fabulous. He used to sit way in the back of the theater. You know, you just kind of could hear him. George Kaufman would say, "Speak up, dear." My diction wasn't very good.
And I think the one play that everybody remembers is Stop the World, I Want to Get Off. And you were in the national tour, so you went all over the country with that.
Yes, with Joel Grey, who was Mr. Everybody, who comes up to about here on me, and what a talent.
I thought, what do you mean up to there? I think up to your waist is more like it.
Well, he has a tall personality and a great voice.
He's great. And were you singing in that?
Yes, in 3 languages.
And then how did you learn to sing? When did you learn that?
Oh, I studied 8 years of opera, and before that I had studied piano with a concert pianist, so music was my background, really.
Your mother was a Ziegfeld Follies girl. Did she have to sing, or did she just dance?
In those days, you didn't have to do anything but look beautiful, and she was one of those loverlies, you know, that would walk down.
Was she very tall too?
No, my mother was 5'5".
Oh.
My father was 6'4".
Your father was a football coach. I think
Yes.
I'm trying to get all this athletic background and kind of musical talent, finding where it came from.
I must have made a wish before I came to Earth. Legs and, well, my father was pretty smart too.
Maybe your father was supposed to be a basketball coach and he had the first basketball player.
No, he was first-string All-American football player back in 1924 with the Golden Bears, and it was a, wow,
So it was
great time.
You did a lot of film work too. You did 7 Brides for 7 Brothers.
Yes, yes.
All dancing and singing, or a lot of acting?
Dancing and singing, but we didn't get to sing. In those days, you had to have perfect voices, so they hired singers, and we would...
Is that right?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
dear.
But I did do my own dancing.
And what about McKenna's Gold?
Well, this shouldn't be known these days, but I played an Indian, I played an Apache, and well, we did a swimming scene that they first cut out of the film for interesting reasons. One being that the water, the night before we shot, they had a huge rainstorm, and the water that I was supposed to swim in turned brown. And you won't believe this, but they came with buckets of blue paint and put it in the water, and it ended up in Playboy.
Oh, it did?
Well, it was okay.
You were before the Jackie Bissett T-shirt stuff?
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Way before. I think you're way before anyone else. You did a lot of TV. You did Twilight Zone and Route 66 and Adventures in Paradise, and then the great Batman series.
Yes, that'll always be with me, I think.
I think so too. Do you still get fan mail?
Yes, I get probably 100 times as much as I did in the past.
Is that right? Are they still rerunning them, or?
No, they have these stores and these libraries with books in them, and they have everybody's home address. So I like it in a way. It's interesting.
The one thing that, reading your bio, you were in New York and June Havoc. You were coming out to audition, and June Havoc said, what did she tell you? Because I think that's a great story.
Well, June Havoc gave me 2 cats so that I could study Catwoman, you see. And ever since then, I've always had cats.
Did it help?
Yes, oh, unquestionably, because they move and sit and are, and they're actually the little ballerinas.
What about the play Cats? Did you ever think of doing that?
No.
Not right?
No, but they have fabulous makeups.
I
Remember
know,
those
I think
incredible looks that they had?
But they all move the way you were talking about moving. Because I guess they had to study cats as well.
Yes, and they were all fabulous dancers.
Is it true that you sewed your own costume?
I used to do that, and...
For Catwoman. Did you sew it for Catwoman?
I partially did. I knew how to make those very tiny, curvy waistlines. There's a certain way that you do seams, and that's one reason why the costume had the look that it did. That
was a different time. You had different material to work with. You didn't have spandex or anything that would fit to your body.
But this was lurex, as I remember. It had little blue, shiny threads through the black material, and it did stretch.
Oh,
and
it did.
It moved with you, and it worked.
So you weren't there sewing it right on your body as you went along. I could just imagine you.
No.
We don't have any footage from that, but we do have some footage from something recent that you've done.
Oh, Thierry Mugler, the APLA show for AIDS benefit a little over a year ago. Thierry's a great French designer, and he always loved the Catwoman character, and he designed his version of the Catwoman for me. Wait till you see it.
And we're going to see it. Okay, we'll see it now. you still move like that on the stage.
Isn't that a costume with those Venetian blinds?
Yes.
Cutouts?
But how do you keep moving like that? What do you do to keep in shape?
Well, I used to do ballet like you, but
And
now I
now?
do yoga.
So it keeps you very limber. You know, you have been known as Catwoman, even though there were only 6 one-hour episodes. What do you think that popularity was? How did it stay so much in the limelight?
It's almost a miracle the way great shows happen. You don't know it at the time. You just show up. And somebody decides to tilt the camera this way, you know, and somebody puts in this marvelous color, and all this energy comes together, and it just happens. There's no answer.
You think that's what it was? But you've spawned all of these other Catwomen, Lee Merriweather.
Ah, yeah. Miss America?
And Eartha Kitt.
Oh, wow, the best purring in town.
And Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh, she's a great actress.
Did you have to give any kind of instructions to any of these people?
Please. I wrote Michelle Pfeiffer a fan letter.
Did you?
Yeah, because she's sublime.
What are you doing now? Are you acting?
Oh.
Are you producing?
I have a new film called Oblivion. It's a Western, a sci-fi Western,
Ooh.
which we shot in Romania, which was an experience. And Paramount is releasing it. It'll be out in the summer.
Oh, so you are continuing to act. Do you want to do stage again?
No. I like playing mothers.
Oh,
That's
and
what I am.
Are you playing a mother, or you are a real mother?
I am.
You
I
are
play
a real
good
mother. And I think the wonderful thing is that your bio says you are American Sign Language.
Oh, yes. My son is deaf, so I sign, and I know, a little bit.
Was it easy for you to learn that?
It's easy, yes.
It kind of feels like it fits into your genre.
It's fun, really, to watch people who sign and, who are deaf.
Oh, I think it's great. Now, one thing I know everyone asked you to do, but before we leave, will you purr for us?
Really?
Yeah, do people still ask you to do that?
Yes! Yes. Let me see, how do I do it?
Ooh, Julie.
Well, because you asked.
Thank you. And thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
We loved
Thank
having you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Joan.
And don't go away, because we'll be right back with Ed Moses. I bet he can't purr like that. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and we're back with Ed Moses. We're going to profile artist Ed Moses, who was born in Long Beach, California at the Seaside Hospital. I was born there too, but we're still not sure what happened to the hospital because it's been long gone. He hasn't strayed far from the water as he works and lives in Venice, California. His gallery, L.A. Louvre, is also in Venice. Moses has a Bachelor of Arts and a Master's of Arts from UCLA. He's received a National Endowment and Guggenheim Awards. He's had a California Arts Council commission. He's taught at various universities, and as well as the Skowhegan School of Painting, which is very prestigious, and it's in Maine. He's been shown in galleries and museums throughout the world. Ed Moses, to me, is the Dean of Southern California painters. Welcome, Ed.
Thank you, Joan. I think you're right.
We're happy to have you with us today. Your bio says that in between all these things that you did, you've always traveled.
Yeah, I need a shot.
What is that?
Well, after each group of paintings, or for an exhibit usually, I use it all up. So then I have to get out of town. At first I feel good. Then I started getting itchy. And so I either have to get out of town or I have to get back to work. I have to start painting again. And I will like to avoid that at all costs.
Avoid painting?
Yeah, the last thing I ever wanted to be was a painter.
Oh, that's one of the questions I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you, because I didn't know. I've never asked you this, as all the times I've known you. How did you become a painter?
Well, it became as a strange affliction. And I was a pre-med major, and this friend of mine said, you have to take this art class from this guy. This guy, you've never seen a guy like this. So I signed up, and here this guy came in, and from that day it made a kind of shift, and it was always something that was peculiar. It was like this going down this long, dark tunnel because you didn't know what was there. Being a doctor, I had an idea
Really?
what it was all about, and I was during World War II, I was a surgical technician, and so I had a great experience of assisting some really great surgeons that were all drafted into the service. So that was really the thing I was going to do.
But do you have the hands for that?
I have little
been?
stubby hands with a funny little thumb.
Could you have been a surgeon, do you
Well,
think?
sure. It's all about the touch and the attitude of the touch. It's like certain kinds of painting,
So,
physical
yeah,
painting.
I was
It's
going to say,
it's
does
about
that...
the touch. So anyway, I took another class, and physics and chemistry and all that was really difficult for me. I just couldn't comprehend some of the material fast enough because I was always in some kind of ozone territory,
Oh,
going along with, this virtual reality. Because reality was always like virtual reality to me.
you were way ahead of it, right? You were
I
way-
always had it sort of flip-flopped.
Exactly, way before they thought of this thing.
So anyway, where are we?
We're leaving medicine and getting into art because
Yeah.
you couldn't do the physics.
Yeah,
so you
right.
never could have done it anyway.
Yeah, you're probably right, but it was a real disappointment.
Oh, it was?
It was a disappointment. So little by little, I just became drawn in more and more into painting, and then finally it was too late.
Were you painting all along when you were taking these classes? And did you have a studio?
Well, a little bit. I did a little bit. It was a funny thing because when I took this first painting class, they would have a model or a still life, and people were doing all these things, and I was looking at what I was doing and looking at what they were doing. It didn't look anything like that. I couldn't make them like that.
Were you doing abstract work at that time?
Well, sort of abstracted, I guess, in a sense, because I didn't know how to do a straight painting. And all the students and the teacher would always come around and ooh and awe.
Oh, they thought your work was good?
Right, and he would point or she would point and say, now that's it. And I would look at it and I say, that's it?
And it was,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
Where was this all going on?
This was at Long Beach City College.
Oh, it was. So
After I got out of the service, I was in pre-med down there.
You know, I talked about it and thought about it reading your bio and how close you've always been to water. I know you spent a lot of time in Nova Scotia.
Well, my father was born in Nova Scotia.
Is that what took you there?
Yeah, and I visited there a few times. But actually, I was conceived in Hawaii and was born on the ship sailing over to San Pedro. My dad was going to import Kona coffee.
Really?
But
he was
didn't-
ahead of the game,
Yeah,
too.
he really was, but I think he was laughed out of town because he went back to Hawaii, and my mother decided to stay on the mainland. That's what it was called at that time. And so I traveled back and forth.
Oh, you did. So then she did take you to the Seaside Hospital, I hope.
Right, that's where I was acquitted as a human being or
I see.
something like that.
See. Well, then you
Came
have,
the animal realm after that.
all of this does have to do with water. Hawaii and being born on the ship.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you
and I
use
really-
water in your
Yeah,
work?
in the painting, and I get seasick.
You do.
So I don't really I like the idea of water. I like to look at it. And I imagine skimming across it would be
Oh, you
nice.
do. Yeah, or walking
taking
on it.
off of it. I surfed when I was young in Hawaii and brought a surfboard back and to Long Beach and had this balsa wood surfboard, and everybody had paddle boards in those days.
So you were ahead again.
Yeah, and well, that's a nice way of looking at it. At least I was. You never get further ahead than what's there, but at least I was there, and it was just it was an obvious thing, and there was a great beach in Long Beach at that time.
How does the water work with your work? How does it come into being?
Well, I get very structured and sort of tight-assed in my painting sometime. So I think I have to break it up some way. So I either wet the surface first and paint into it wet, or I hose it down and then I paint into it again, and so there's a lot of that. But I don't know if it's any kind of real affection for the water. It's just an available part of the material.
Do you do that inside the studio?
Outside. I work outside on a big concrete platform.
So you work flat?
Flat, yeah, and I have these skateboards that have various dimensions that I can roll the paintings around from one and sort of move them and play around with them.
Well, is color important?
Color's a factor.
It is. So
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
like water. You don't think water is a factor?
I never thought about it that way. That's an interesting observation. Yeah. Well, obviously, in this watercolor here, because I had been doing these very structured diagonal grids, some idea of being able to hang paint on some formal gesture, and then breaking it open, not so controlled.
So we see the grid behind it.
Yeah, so what happened here, I just took some water and went down there with the sponge, and then when I drew in to the part that wasn't wet, it made a very hard line, but as soon as it hit the wet part, then it puddles up and transforms itself, and that's what I really like in painting, is that you start off with this notion, idea, whatever it is, but you present it in an environment where it can change by some situation, water, some chemistry, whatever.
Well, that really leads me to when you say you start out with a notion, because you did a series of red paintings.
Right.
And who could do a series of red paintings? I mean, you did, I don't know how many.
Too many.
A lot. You did a lot of them,
yeah.
20, 30, whatever. How can each red painting be different, or how do you talk about it?
Well, the thing is that I was trying to get someplace, but I didn't have a picture of it. So I have to start somewhere, and red was the kind of thing I was very interested in. I suddenly decided that the academic and the conventional color thing wasn't what I was, red, yellow, and blue, for example. Mm-hmm. I was interested in the primal colors, black, red,
yeah,
and a kind of institutional green that was a neutral zone. And in
Right.
Tibetan paintings for the environment or around the objects and the facts, there's this immaterial zone, and I call it an abstract zone because you can't relate to it in any way.
But
So
does it have to be blank?
It implies blank,
I
the
see.
institutional green, because it's a non-referential color.
I see.
They used to use it in World War II in defense plants. They thought it was soothing to the eye, this green. And people started getting real crazy because they didn't have anything to relate to.
Because it was blank to them then.
Yeah, they wanted a little bit more feedback in terms of their environment. It was already rigorous enough, probably, right?
So how did you use it?
Well, I use it as the third possibility. You set up a context of two opposing things like red and black or whatever it is, and then they come together, and this other thing happens, the whole catalyst idea,
I see.
where you get two aliens coming together. Like in our Western life, we never get smart except by collision.
Right. So that's what happens with your painting.
Yeah, and there's a kind of collision of these two elements, and then this other thing happens, that the original guys lose their identity.
Mm-hmm. Well, how do you describe your work then? How would you describe it?
Boy, I don't know. I don't think I could describe it. because it comes about through this contradictions situation.
It's not really abstract then in your mind.
Right, it isn't abstract.
It is not
well,
abstract.
I've been torn between is painting as a physical fact in this two-dimensional situation called a plane, and that the artists call it a plane anyway, and one where the canvas is a pictorial place. It's a picture of something else. So one where it's a hard physical thing, and the other one where it's a picture plane. And the collision of these two things has always intrigued me all of my life.
So that's really not abstract. In a way, it's like you're giving us concrete things to look at.
Well, it's concrete and it's pictorial.
I see.
And the two things sort of rack back and forth, and it's that I can't ally myself of one being the one.
I see.
Because they exist.
I see.
Along with several others.
So we have to look for that. The next time we see your paintings, we have to look for this collision, and we have to know that it's Ed Moses, and what's working in your mind.
Well, no, I would say absolutely wrong.
Wrong, okay. I'm wrong, and we have to leave.
No, but everybody has that view, and the thing is, it's just there.
Okay.
So what are you going to do when you see it?
We're going to...
So you don't have to figure out anything. People get very intimidated by painting. They think that it means something.
I see.
De Kooning said that what he really liked is that he was going to do something that was a kind of activity every day, and it didn't mean anything.
I see. So that's what we're doing today. What we're doing today doesn't mean anything.
Well,
I want to thank you for being with us, because we have to go.
It's virtual entertainment.
He entertained us today. Thanks for being with us today. He's going to leave on me, too. Thanks for being with us today, and we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.